Part 104. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1031. A cruel look flashed in Lu Jiang's eyes. He raised his foot and was about to step forward, but was pulled back by Feng Qingxiu. Those two old ladies are fighting, what are you doing as a grown man? It's all in the past, I haven't suffered any losses. I will tell you slowly from now on, and I don't mean to hide it from you. Lu Jiang held her hand tightly and said distressedly, how much hardship have you suffered before? I really regret that I didn't meet you earlier. Feng Qingxiu said softly, since I met you, I have never suffered again. Jiang, it's great to meet you. Although this era was so thrilling and supplies were extremely scarce, she was still very grateful to God for allowing her to meet Lu Jiang, the man she had been attached to for the rest of her life. They had just arrived at the intersection, and were still some distance away from the onlookers and Zhao Guihua and Li Qiaheng's sisters-in-law. So, don't worry about anyone hearing their sweet words. Aunt Feng, who was still watching the crowd, ran over quickly with a look of surprise on her face. Xiaoxiu, you are here? When did you come back? I heard that you took your children to the army and haven't been home for several years. He is also a soldier. He came back at the end of March or early April and then went on a long trip. Second aunt, Lu Jiang and Feng Qingxiu shouted together. Hey, second aunt Feng agreed repeatedly and repeated the question just now. Feng Qingxiu replied, I just came back 2 days ago. I planned to visit my second uncle and my second aunt more than a month ago, but Jiang and I took a long trip because of something, so we postponed our plan to visit my uncle and aunt. We can eat and drink, what's there to see? Why don't you bring your children over for us to see? Aunt Feng looked behind them for a moment, but couldn't see the child's shadow, so she couldn't help being disappointed. Hongling Niang came back from a visit to her parents' house and said, your 2 children are very cute, just like those people made of snow. Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, the 2 children are playing crazy at home and don't want to go out. Lu Jiang was very suspicious when he heard that his wife had wrongfully accused 2 children with a casual sentence, but he did not expose his wife's lie. Looking at the situation in the Kahua Brigade, he was secretly glad that he did not bring his children here. Children like to imitate adults. Seeing Zhao Guihua and Li Qiaheng fighting like this, Zibao must learn quickly and well. The situation of Kahua Brigade is far worse than that of Wanglu Brigade. Although I felt this way 6 or 7 years ago, the feeling is even stronger now, and it is impossible to ignore the huge difference between the two. Even if the harvest in the past 2 years is not good, Wanglu Brigade is developing better and better. On the other hand, Kahua Brigade is a lonely and desolate scene. Along the way, I saw the crops belonging to Kahua Brigade. It is indeed as Wang Zhenqiu said, not half withered and half dead, it is sparse and sparse. It is a blessing to see that 1 acre of land can yield 150 jins. The average output of the Wanglu Brigade can reach 300 to 400 jins. Even if they were watching the excitement, everyone's faces were full of sadness. It's too hot outside, let's go home. Second aunt Feng pulled her niece and passed Zhao Guihua and Li Qiaheng, who were fighting again. It's not easy for you to come here and let you see such a joke again. Feng Qingxiu didn't care. She had no relationship with her brother and sister-in-law for a long time. Aren't they always working together? Why have they turned against each other now? Just listen to Zhao Guihua bite each other. Feng Qingxiu turned around and saw that Zhao Guihua and Li Qiaheng were fighting harder, and no one stepped forward to stop the fight. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1032. Aunt Feng said with a smile, it's just the meat thing that has caused such a fuss. Feng Lei and Zhao Guihua saved money for more than half a year. A few days ago, they got up in the middle of the night and went to the city. They bought a whole pair of pig heads and came back. They cleaned them with salt. Marinate it and eat it when the farmers are busy, so as to save energy from work. Who would have thought that Li Qiuheng actually stole it last night? People find it funny, using the excuse that the child is sick and wants to eat meat. Which child can eat a pig head? Wait, second aunt, Feng Lei. When did you change your name? Feng Qingxiu had a flash of doubt in her eyes. Second aunt Feng said, the names have been changed. The eldest is Feng Lei, the second is Feng Yu, and the word Qing in the middle has been removed. When she heard that Feng Qingxiu didn't call them brother and sister-in-law, she knew that Feng Qingxiu had no feelings for them, so she just called them by their first names without saying anything about eldest brother, second brother, or sister-in-law, which was very discerning. Whether or not to change the name didn't mean anything to Feng Qingxiu, and she didn't ask about the reason for the name change. She didn't ask, but when she arrived at her second uncle's house, second aunt Feng still told her the reason. At the beginning of the year, a group of students came to us to make a revolution. The students in the city said that the name Feng Lei Feng Yu was frivolous and did not comply with the regulations, so they ordered them to change it to Feng Lei Feng Yu. Removing the word Feng Lei Feng Yu meant removing the old culture and old ideas. In addition, it had to be called Feng Lei Feng Yu. Our brigade handed over the landlords to be criticized and educated. Our brigade is famous for being in a poor place. Where did the landlords come from? They just said it was a political mission and ordered you to tie up the uncle and get a landlord out. Feng Qingxiu frowned. What happened next? Aunt Feng sighed, you have good intentions, but if you don't want to, I was dismissed from the cotter position and replaced by Li Chengdong, an old bachelor, saying that he is a representative of farmers and a role model for work. After becoming this cotter, Li Chengdong immediately married a yellow-haired girl, causing a mess in the brigade, and even tied up your uncle and pushed him out, saying that he is the landlord. That's nonsense. Who doesn't know that the second uncle has been a poor farmer for 8 lifetimes? Feng Qingxiu was so angry that she slapped the table so hard that it hurt so much that she immediately flicked her wrist and blew. You're angry when you're angry. Why are you hitting the table? Let me see if it's red. Lu Zhang looked at her carefully and blew her again. Second aunt Feng smiled when she saw their behavior. Feng Qingxiu's face was a little red. When she learned that her second uncle was not at home, she gave the gift first. Looking at the candied candies and biscuits taken out from the basket, Aunt Feng rubbed her hands on both sides of her blouse. Why is this so embarrassing? Xiaoxiu, you have 2 children at home, leave them for the children to eat. Why did you bring them to us? I haven't been back for several years, so how can I be empty-handed? I'd like to give my second uncle and second aunt some support, and don't be polite to my niece. Besides, we will return to the army next month, and we don't know that we will see each other again in the year of the monkey and the horse. Uncle and second aunt Feng Qingxiu pushed the thing forward. How is the second uncle doing now? Aunt Feng sighed heavily again. What good can happen if you are regarded as a model? We ordinary people dare to be angry but dare not speak out. Li Chengdong is so arrogant now. Anyone who says no will have their work points deducted or their work points reduced. He recorded work points and said that he was following orders from above to complete political tasks. Every time he criticized and educated Mr. Yu, he asked Li Qiuheng to come on stage to speak. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1033. Feng Qingxiu couldn't help but ask, what does it have to do with Li Qiuheng? While Aunt Feng locked the things in the cupboard, she turned around and said to her, Li Qiuheng foams at the mouth every time she goes on stage, saying that you oppressed her and exploited her when she was a landlord, so that she didn't have to work day and night, didn't give her food, but the People's Liberation Army came by and rescued her, overthrowing the evil landlord Feng Xuanzu, so that she could see a bright future. Poor you, Mr. Xuanzun, who is over 60 years old, is now worse off than dead, he said. I am dying and have been living well for a long time. I am so angry that I can't breathe. Therefore, she was beaten by Zhao Guihua, and no one came forward to stop the fight. The Feng family is a wealthy family in the Kahua Brigade. Who doesn't hate Li Chengdong, who made something out of nothing? Who doesn't hate Li Qiaheng, who is colluding with Li Chengdong? They are all ordinary people, and they once defended Feng Xuanzuo in anger, but in the end they were beaten and became accomplices, almost not involving their families. Feng Xuanzuo told them to leave him alone, but no one listened without a look in their eyes. Tears. Feng Xuanzu told them this, all for their own good. Second Aunt Feng had a look of unbearability on her face. Except for your aunt who accompanied you to tie him up and ate every meal without finishing a meal, your children and grandchildren have drawn a clear line with your uncle and took the lead in criticizing you for keeping him tied up. Then it's a knife that cuts flesh. Feng Qingxiu bit her lower lip, inhumane thing. Ajiang and I know, second aunt, we will find a way to help the second uncle and the second aunt. Today Ajiang and I want to go to Grandpa and Grandma and parents. We pay our respects to his grave, but I can't remember where it is. You can take us there to identify the grave, and then come back to visit the second uncle. Okay. Okay. Zioxiu, I know you are a good boy. I deserve to tie you up and help you. Stop talking, second aunt, let's get down to business quickly. Because the country has a policy of leveling graves and recultivation, there are not too many graves in each village. However, the older generation has the idea of burying them in peace, so each brigade has designated 2 plots of land as cemeteries. There were also members of the Wanglu Brigade, but the Lu family was not among them. They chose to bury them where their ancestral graves were, without leaving a tomb. In the past year, Father Lu has often felt lucky for his original decision. How many grave diggings are happening outside now? There are too many to count, especially those like the Lu family who have ancestral graves, and they are all in the process of being eliminated. Because there are no graves, and because Wang Zhenqiu controls the Wanglu Brigade, no one is currently coming to Wanglu Brigade to act wild. After listening to Feng Qingxiu's words, second Aunt Feng took Lu Zhang and her to the cemetery assigned to the Feng family by the Kahua Brigade. She pointed at 2 of the graves and said, the older one is your grandma, and the smaller one is your father. Mom, the tombstone has been smashed a long time ago. It's so noisy now that no one dares to visit the grave, not even during the Qingming festival. Look, the grass is knee-deep. Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu first kowtowed to the original owner's grandparents, and then went to the graves of the original owner's parents. While kowtowing, Feng Qingxiu muttered in her heart, Feng Qingxiu in the 1960s, I have my current life through your body. I don't know where your soul is. I don't know if you are related to your parents who favor boys over girls we have met, and if you are alive in heaven, I beg you to forgive me for occupying a dove's nest, and for gaining my lover, children, relatives, and friends in your capacity. Although the original owner had expired when she traveled through time, and the time travel was beyond her control, she still felt guilty towards the original owner simply because she used this body and her identity. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1034. Under the surprised look of Aunt Feng, Lu Zhang struck the match and pointed at the corner of the Yuan Yang book. Feng Qingxiu continued to recite silently in her heart, Feng Qingxiu, it is your birth date, not mine, so today I have to come and burn it on the advice of an expert. From now on, no one will use your birth date, and you have nothing to do with my husband. Suddenly, the Yuan Yang book turned into ashes and scattered in the wind. Aunt Feng suddenly opened her eyes wide, because she saw that the flames had just reached a corner of the Yuan Yang book, and had not yet completely burned. Even if the flames burned, the Yuan Yang book could not be completely burned in a moment, and there could not be any ashes. Both Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu saw this scene, and the latter thought, Feng Qingxiu, is it you? Is it you? There was no sound around, except for the gentle breeze blowing through the grass and trees. Lu Zhang quickly said to Aunt Feng, the weather is hot, and it's a big red paper, so it burns very quickly. What are you burning? Aunt Feng asked. She didn't see the writing on the red paper and didn't know it was a Yuan Yang book. Feng Qingxiu stood up and pulled Lu Zhang up, explaining, it's just a big red paper. Because I haven't come to pay homage to my parents since I got married, and the current world doesn't allow grave sweeping, so we couldn't buy yellow paper, so we looked for it specially. A piece of big red paper instead. Aunt Feng didn't have any doubts after hearing this. If your parents see that you are now living a good life with both children, they will definitely be happy. Feng Qingxiu said, not necessarily. Based on the patriarchal character of Feng's father and Feng's mother, it is more likely to exploit and oppress her daughter who is married outside. In their view, a married daughter is just thrown away water and has nothing to do with her mother's family anymore, but they also it is reasonable to ask that the water thrown out must always remember the brothers from the mother's family, otherwise it will be unfilial. Second, Aunt Feng didn't understand what she was thinking, and was about to ask when she heard Feng Qingxiu say, second aunt, let's not talk about them anymore. Let's go to the second uncle's house. The second uncle still lives in the same place, right? Yes, he still lives in his own home, but the furniture and objects in his home were smashed until nothing was left. Absolutely nothing. As soon as she entered Feng Xuan's home, Feng Qingxiu found that there was nothing in the house. The house was completely empty, with no bed, no chairs, no table, and no bowls, chopsticks, cups or plates in sight. When she first arrived here, she often went out and would occasionally leave her sister at Feng Xuanzu's house, so she knew what his house was like before. Seeing Feng Qingxiu, Feng Xuanzu and his old wife, who were sitting on the floor in the house, were both surprised and happy. Then their expressions changed, and they quickly stood up and pushed them out. Come on, don't come to our house, don't give me anything, you are causing trouble. Second uncle, second aunt, Feng Qingxiu grabbed the second aunt's bony hand and felt her weak pulse. Her nose was sore and she almost shed tears. Ajiang and I came to see you, but we were turned away. What does it look like outside? Ajiang, come on, bring the basket, I'll find some food for you, haven't you eaten for a long time? Lu Zhang immediately handed over the basket, and Feng Qingxiu reached under the coarse cloth, first took out 2 white-faced steamed buns from the space and handed them to Feng Xuan, who said to the old couple, second aunt, go home and pour some hot water. Don't choke grandpa and auntie. Second aunt Feng agreed without saying a word, I'll go right away, and you can stay with your uncle and aunt. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1035. After Aunt Feng left, Feng Xuan and his wife refused to take the white-faced steamed buns they had not seen for a long time. No, there are people staring at us every day. Feng Xuan shook his hand and was stuffed with steamed buns. Second uncle, although Ajiang and I are powerless in many things, it doesn't mean that we really have no abilities at all. We really want to meet this Captain Li Chengdong who came out of nothing, Feng Qingxiu said from he tore off a small piece of the steamed bun in his hand and stuffed it into the second aunt's mouth. Eat something first, then we can have the strength to talk. With tears in her eyes, the second aunt said, good people, there are still good people in the world. Your second uncle and I have fallen into this situation. Many fellow villagers don't have enough to eat at home, but they still take turns delivering meals to us, secretly coming and going at night. Come on, your uncle and aunt are like this too. Second aunt, if you and the second uncle eat theirs, you can eat ours. Eat quickly. After eating, we can do the next thing. Yes, second uncle, second auntie, King Xiu and I will take care of this matter. Lu Jiang's anger has reached its peak. Second uncle, after you have eaten, you can write a complaint and I will send it to you. Go to the top, if the commune cannot send it to the county committee, and if the county committee cannot send it to the municipal committee, if it is still ignored, then send it directly to the capital. Feng Qingxiu smiled slightly. How can we send the capital to alarm the old leader? The second uncle and the second aunt will have to live here in the future. Let's go to the commune to ask for an explanation. If not, we will meet with the county committee. Lu Jiang is no longer an ordinary soldier. Which cadre at all levels in Huihe City should not give him some face? Element. In the face of absolute power, it is nothing but a piece of paper. No matter how many people make accusations, no matter what the ingredients are, they are never worth the words of the old leader. This is the fact that the Lu family did not experience the tragedy of the previous life during this period. In the previous life, even with Wang Zhenqiu's protection, it was difficult to resist external orders. After hearing what Lu Jiang and his wife said, Feng Xuanzuo and his wife were stunned, with puzzled expressions on their faces. Aunt Feng came over with water and happened to hear these words. She said to Feng Xuanzi, "Second uncle, have you forgotten? Ajiang and Xiaoxiu are both capable people. The news has long been spread throughout the Wanglu brigade. They were popular in the past 2 years. Didn't Ling Niang tell her when she went to her parents' house? Who in our brigade doesn't know what kind of commander Ajiang is in the army now? Xiaoxiu is also a soldier, has achieved first-class merit, and has met the old leader. Xiaoxiu's father-in-law and her uncle went to the capital to visit her, and were received by the old leader. Even the cadres in the city came to visit and inquire about them. They went to the cowshed to pay homage to the calligraphy treasures and theirs that the old leader gave to Ajiang's father. Photos. Feng Xuan patted his head and remembered. At that time, Father Lu returned from the capital. He was still the captain of the Kahua brigade. He also went to Wanglu brigade with a team organized by commune cadres to pay homage to the old leader's calligraphy and photos, and also inspected Wanglu brigade's crop fields. It's not unreasonable for Wanglu brigade to be taken seriously. Every year, the crops are better than those around them. My background is ironclad. The county committee knows it. It was a political task assigned by the county committee. A large group of students in the city insisted on asking our brigade to hand over the landlords. However, how can there be any landlords in our brigade? Although they are rich farmers, but they are good people, and I can't bear to push them out. My ancestors worked hard for several lifetimes and saved a few acres of land, and then they were pushed out as landlords. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1036. Feng Xuanzu was already in tears when he said this, and he didn't even have the strength to speak. He was finally willing to tear off a small piece of white flour steamed bun with trembling hands, eat it, and took a sip of the water handed over by Aunt Feng. Feng Qingxiu frowned. I remember that our Feng family is basically all poor peasants, not even upper-middle peasants. Feng Xuanzwen nodded. Yes, although my family has a few acres of land, our family had a large population at that time and the harvest was not good. It was not enough to eat for a whole season. We still had to rent land or work for others to make a living. So classified as poor peasants. Who did you rent the land from? Doesn't it mean that there are no landlords in Kahua brigade? Lu Jiang asked. Feng Xuanzu replied, the land in Kahua village is barren, and we may not be able to receive the number of seeds planted during the harvest. Just like the crops in the field this year, a large area has died, and the ground is white all year round. 50 pounds of wheat once the seeds are planted, most of them will not be recovered. Therefore, Many people do not rent land in Kahua village, but rent land in other villages. After a pause, Feng Xuanzhao said to Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu, "You are cadres of the army. It is rare for you to go home. Don't get involved in these muddy waters, lest others notice your father's status again." Compared to him, the fake landlord, the real landlord Lu Ziwen is much more dangerous. "Don't worry, we know what to do." After Lu Zhang finished speaking, he turned to Feng Qingxiu and asked, "Qingxiu, did you bring the paper? Take it out and let the second uncle write a complaint." I have it, it's in my bag. Even if I don't have it, I have to say I have it, not to mention that there is always paper and pen in the bag." Lu Zhang rummaged through his canvas satchel, and sure enough he found paper and pen, a pen. The pen that the old leader gave me back then. In fact, it wasn't used much. It had been stored in the space. After she came back, she took it out and put it in her shoulder bag, using it as one of the things to protect herself. As soon as they heard that it was given by the old leader, Feng Xuanzuo, his wife, and Aunt Feng both expressed their admiration. There were no tables, chairs, or benches at Feng Xuanzu's house, so he lay on the floor and wrote. His wife put the remaining half of the steamed bun in her pocket. "How should I write it?" Feng Xuanzu didn't know how to start. Lu Zhang often made reports, understood the format of the complaint materials, and squatted beside him to teach him. It was nothing more than name, age, ancestors' status, etc., and then came the main content of the complaint. "I am a poor peasant, not a landlord." This sentence is the main content of the complaint materials. Feng Xuanzwen wrote this line tremblingly, tears streaming down his wrinkled face. He sniffed, took the ink pad box from Lu Zhang, and pressed his own button on the complaint materials. Fingerprint. Lu Zhang collected the complaint materials and said, "Let's leave now. The sooner we resolve the matter, the sooner we can rest assured." "Thank you, Ajiang, for troubling you and Zioxiu." Feng Xuanzwen burst into tears of gratitude. He never thought in his life that a little kindness to Feng Qingxiu and his sisters would be the rope that pulled his couple out of the sea of misery. "Second uncle, you are welcome. You are innocent and you should not be treated like this." The second aunt's reaction was to wipe the tears from her face. When Feng Xuanzwen and his wife sent Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu to the door of their house, they saw Li Chengdong rushing over with a group of strong laborers. While taking long strides, he said in a rough voice, "Without my permission, Li Chengdong, who dares to come into contact with this bad guy in my territory?" Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1037. Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu simultaneously blocked the two elders behind them and looked at the group of people who came to them in a moment. Li Chengdong, who was surrounded by people and introduced himself to his family, was a middle-aged man in his 40s, short and thin, with a natural deer-headed mouse eyes, and his eyes were filled with the arrogance of a villain, mixed with greed and cunning. When they arrived in front of Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu, Li Chengdong glanced at Feng Qingxiu. In the past few years, Feng Qingxiu has lived in the army, even on business trips, and in and out of formal occasions. Naturally, she looks neat and tidy. She only looks ugly when going to the black market with Lu Zhang or when she goes out alone. At this time, although she did not dress up deliberately, she was still elegant, beautiful, and dignified. Under her brilliance, everything is nothing. How outrageous! Lu Zhang blocked his wife by himself. His stern voice forced Li Chengdong and others to retreat hurriedly. Thinking that he was a cadre of the Kahua brigade and had nothing to fear, Li Chengdong puffed up his chest and said maliciously, "Who are you? Dare to run wild on my territory, Li Chengdong? You are asking everywhere to find out who I am, Li Chengdong." Before he finished speaking, a strong man behind him tugged on his sleeve. Feng Qingxiu recognized this strong man as Hungling's husband Guo Guangcheng, but she didn't expect that he would hang out with Li Chengdong. "Is it true that people flock together and birds of a feather flock together?" "What are you doing?" Li Changdong said angrily. Guo Guangcheng whispered, "Captain, they are from the Wanglu Brigade, Army Commander Lu Jiang. He is in charge of tens of thousands of soldiers in the Border Defense Force, and he is a big shot who all the municipal party committee cadres must respect before him. His wife is our daughter from Ka who has achieved first-class merit after joining the army, and the old leader personally visited her." Li Changdong suddenly remembered and pointed at Feng Qingxiu, who was blocked by Lu Jiang. "Are you Feng Qingxiu? The sisters-in-law of Zhao Guihua and Li Qiuheng? You have become unrecognizable to me. The two of them and you, my brother, took my food and then changed his mind, making me a joke all over the country, but I'm going to catch you." Guo Guangcheng, who reminded him before, kept winking at him. "Didn't you see Lu Jiang's angry look?" There was no need for Lu Jiang to ask. It turned out that Li Changdong was the old bachelor who forced his sister to marry in the stormy days. Now that he heard his foul language, he stepped forward and kicked him to the ground, and then removed his jaw. "Ah Jiang, soldiers who hit people for no reason will be punished." Feng Qingxiu stepped forward and grabbed the furious husband. "We have 100 ways to deal with such a person, don't make fun of your own future. You are a jade bottle, and he is a stinky rat. How can you kill a person just because of it? It only hurt the jade bottle." Lu Jiang turned around and gently pushed her towards second aunt Feng. "Second aunt, please take Xiaoxiu and uncle and aunt into the house, and leave this place to me." The punishment of the troops. His wife was molested, let alone a punishment. Even if he was dismissed from his position, he would still have to say this for his wife. Lu Jiang rubbed his wrists and finger joints crackled. His expression was cold and stern, and he was fierce. However, Li Changdong's jaw was removed, and he was in so much pain that he couldn't say a word, and his saliva flowed all over the floor. Routine ticket request, monthly ticket recommendation ticket. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1038. Seeing this scene, Guo Guangcheng and others who were following Li Changdong were so frightened that their legs became weak and they remained motionless. He had no intention of stepping forward to help or breaking up the fight. His eyes were blank and the look of fear was even worse than on Li Changdong's face. Li Changdong held his chin with one hand and pointed at Lu Jiang with the other. His triangular eyes were full of resentment, which made Guo Guangcheng and others groan in secret. He was indeed an old country bachelor who had never traveled far and had no experience at all. They all followed him. He has already said who the person in front of him is, and yet he still dares to speak rudely. Isn't this looking for death? Regarding Lu Jiang's attempt to beat up Li Changdong, no one present felt it was inappropriate. If a man swallows his anger when his wife is being teased, he will be a coward and will make people laugh. Although Li Changdong's words are not very explicit, in this era, those words are considered to be extremely teasing. Feng Qingxiu shook off her second aunt to hold her hand, stepped forward and hugged Lu Jiang tightly. "Jiang, calm down. If you are punished by the army for this matter, I will never forgive myself in my life." Feng Qingxiu was angry and anxious. She knew the rules in the army best and was even more worried about Lu Jiang, who was angry. The attack was heavy. No matter whether Li Changdong was injured or not, as long as he reported it to the army, Lu Jiang would be given a demerit in the least case and dismissed in the most serious case. Half his life's efforts were in vain. Hitting is not the way to solve the problem. "Jiang, I am also a soldier. Li Changdong's dirty words and insults to soldiers should be dealt with by the country. Zheng Zhou can't find a reason to deal with Li Changdong. Isn't this coming to his door?" His wife was pregnant, and Lu Jiang did not dare to struggle, fearing that he would bring her down if he moved too much, so he supported his wife with his backhand. After thinking about it, he looked at Li Changdong, who was pointing at him angrily with a serious look on his face. He sighed and spat out a mouthful. Saliva. Consider him lucky, he wished he could stab him with a knife and kill this bastard who almost forcibly married his wife 7 years ago. How can we make him lucky? Of course we should strike while the iron is hot and send him to the commune. If the commune fails, he will be sent to the county or city. If you don't give me an explanation, I will definitely not be willing to do it. As a soldier, I am still a pregnant woman, and I will return to my parents' home. If he suffered such a humiliation in one trip and let him get away with it, I wouldn't let Feng Qingxiu suffer. That's not her nature. It just so happened that they could hand over Feng Xuanxiao's complaint materials. In this case, it would be unjustifiable if the commune did not give justice to Feng Xuanxiao and remove Li Chengdong from his post. Ready-made reasons were given, the right time, the right place, the right people, everything was missing. For people like Li Chengdong, if you don't hit him within 7 inches, he will continue to spit out poisonous messages. After his wife's reminder, Lu Zhang immediately sent Li Chengdong to the commune. The people who were following Li Chengdong suddenly dispersed, and no one came forward to say a kind word to Li Chengdong. Feng Qingxiu followed Lu Zhang to the commune. As soon as she entered the office, she heard crying from under the handkerchief covering her face. Are all the cadres from the commune here? Well, I would like to ask, how are the cadres of the production brigade below selected? We have been in the army for many years, and we have worked hard and dare not slack off. We abide by national regulations and the guidance of the old leaders. Thinking about it, after finally taking 2 months of family leave, I was bullied like this when I went back to my parents' home. Why did they insult an old poor peasant like me with dirty words just because we were visiting my parents' parents? Bing, what are you going to do? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1039. When the farming season is not busy, there is no need to go back to work in each house. The commune cadres are very leisurely and are gathering in the office to drink tea and chat. Suddenly they saw 2 soldiers, a man and a woman, escorting Li Chengdong, who had been in the limelight recently, in. Immediately after some clear and touching accusations, Secretary Zhang and Township Chief Chen of Shuguan Commune jumped up immediately. What's going on? 2 comrades. Today I am going to ask all comrades whether they are not clear about the situation of the various brigades below, or are they just pretending to be deaf and dumb and only focus on drinking tea and chatting. Feng Qingxiu put down the handkerchief covering her face and the tearful face became even more beautiful. With a rather pitiful air, this Li Chengdong insulted me, an active female soldier, just because he was the captain of the Kahua brigade. This was in front of my revolutionary comrades. If my revolutionary comrades, if he is not here, will he be in trouble? Lu Zhang threw Li Chengdong to the ground and said in a deep voice, in the era of abolishing the old feudal ideas, this person, 7 years ago, colluded with my revolutionary partner's natal brother-in-law and wanted to marry my partner by force in exchange for food. Fortunately, my partner was brave and resourceful and prevented him from succeeding. After marrying me, he enlisted in the army and became an honorable medical soldier. Today, 7 years later, when we returned to the Kahua brigade to visit relatives, this man actually identified himself as a member of the Kahua brigade. The captain of the brigade is making wild claims, saying that Kahua brigade is his territory. I would like to ask all the comrades who serve in the commune, is Shuguan commune your territory? Secretary Zheng waved his hands hastily. No, no, absolutely not, of course not. The country is the people's country, and the commune is the people's commune. Where are the words Shuguan People's Commune hanging on it? How can it be our private territory? You 2 comrade, let's talk it over. What are the surnames of these 2 comrades? After entering, It was only then that Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu formally performed military salutes and announced their names, Lu Zhang, Feng Qingxiu. Secretary Zheng quickly shook Lu Jiang's hand. Ouch, it turns out they are Comrade Lu Zhang and Comrade Feng Qingxiu. We have admired their names for a long time. Township Chief Chen, Deputy Township Chief Wang, a secretary, 2 clerks, a minister of armed forces, a militia battalion commander, and 2 propagandists, a total of 9 people stepped forward to shake hands with Lu Zhang one after another. They shook hands very tightly. They all showed proud expressions, and their attentive attitude was completely different from the casual attitude when the couple entered the door just now. Since Feng Qingxiu was a lesbian, Secretary Zheng, Township Chief Chen and others did not shake hands with her, but only greeted her. While Secretary Zheng asked Lu Zhang and his wife to sit down, he asked the militia battalion commander to take Li Chengdong down, who was drooling all over the floor. Then he patted his chest and said to Lu Zhang and his wife, "What grievances have been suffered by these 2 comrades, just tell me, absolutely don't let the 2 comrades suffer. Don't say that. This is not a matter of taking advantage of the situation or not. We have business affairs. We can't let this place become my hall just because we are of high rank." Lu Zhang took out Feng Xuanzu's complaint materials and said, "Today, there are 2 incidents. Li Chengdong made obscene remarks and insulted a pregnant female soldier. The circumstances are very serious. You must have an explanation for this matter." Secretary Zheng said hurriedly, of course, don't worry, we will not condone Li Chengdong's bad behavior. Insulting soldiers, the regulations are clear, and you will not be leniently spared." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1040. Feng Qingxiu held a handkerchief and pressed the corners of her eyes, looking like a wronged little daughter-in-law. She was extremely beautiful, and when she looked like this, everyone felt that she was wronged. "I haven't returned to my parents' home for 7 years after I got married. Today, on a whim, I wanted to go home and take a quick look before I returned to the army. After all, this is the place where I was born and raised. Before I married my revolutionary partner, I had been living there with my sister. There is a constant concern. Who would have thought that the whole Kahua brigade was in such a mess that an old bachelor who was not diligent in his work and was indifferent to people was appointed as the captain and took power, and the 2 former captains were ruined. Human-like." Lu Zhang handed the complaint materials to Secretary Zheng and Township Chief Chen. Both comrades took a look at the complaint materials of Comrade Feng Xuanzu. The old leader said that we must seek truth from facts and not cheat. Comrade Feng Xuanzu is a poor peasant. That was settled a long time ago. How come he, a poor peasant, became a landlord when all the land belonged to the state? Secretary Zheng asked in surprise, "Is this happening?" He looked in disbelief. Lu Zhang glanced at him with a half-smile but not a smile. "Comrade Feng Xuanzu, as the captain of the Kahua brigade, before he was framed, he often came to the commune for meetings, right?" "Why, several comrades didn't recognize him." "I don't know. What is his composition?" "Don't tell me that I don't believe it, even a 3-year-old kid doesn't believe it." Secretary Zheng and Township Chief Chen coughed a few times at the same time, a little embarrassed. "You look at me, I look at you, and I don't know what to say for a moment. The person in front of me is not an ordinary person, and he cannot be fooled by just a few words. This matter." Secretary Zheng waved everyone else out. Only the mayor and deputy mayor were left in the office. "To tell you the truth, Comrade Lu Zhang, we can't control this matter at all. If we can, why, we cannot allow Comrade Feng Xuanzao to be framed like this. This matter is a political task assigned by the superiors, and Li Chengdong was directly promoted by the superiors without the consent of our commune." He pointed to the superiors and whispered. He spit out the word county committee. Deputy Township Chief Wang whispered, it was because Comrade Feng Xuanzao was disobedient and failed to complete his political tasks, that's why he was removed. At that time, people were in panic, and the entire commune was in chaos. We had too much time to take care of ourselves, so how could we have the energy to care for others? Township Chief Chen then said, "That's right, Comrade Lu Zhang, you really can't blame us for our lax supervision in this matter. We are also very helpless. Although we are all rough guys, we still know a few words and know right from wrong. How could it be possible to choose an illiterate Li Chengdong as the captain? So what if he is a representative of the farmers? Does he know how to keep accounts and assign work? The current Kahua brigade is a mess. He has been favored by the higher UPS. He can be so deft when it comes to flattering people, shouting slogans so loudly, and doing things so quickly." After hearing these words, Feng Qingxiu frowned and looked ugly. Chen Xiangchang sighed, "We don't have his ability, so we can only protect ourselves for the time being and don't dare to meddle in others' affairs." Secretary Zhang stopped what Mayor Chen was saying, "But today the two comrades brought Li Chengdong to our door and gave us a reason to replace him. They insulted the soldiers and falsely accused the poor peasants of being landlords, which was enough to make him unable to stand up.